Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're breaking down a pretty wild journey through a literal decade of fitness trial, error, and finally, some major revelations. We're looking at insights from fitness creator Tristan Lee, and get this, he spent 10 whole years bouncing from one extreme dieting methodology completely over to the exact opposite extreme. If you've ever felt just, totally exhausted by the endless conflicting rules in the fitness world, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention. Tristan spent years making his diet way harder than it ever actually needed to be. So today, we're unpacking his hard-earned lessons so you don't have to waste a decade figuring them all out for yourself.
Listen to this realization, because it really hits the nail on the head. I wasted 10 years thinking that the stricter, harder, and more extreme I made it, the better the result would be. Honestly, I think so many of us fall into this exact trap. We just assume that a higher tolerance for suffering automatically equals a better physique. We end up wearing our deprivation like a badge of honor. But as you'll see in this explainer, treating your diet like some sort of suffering contest is actually the absolute fastest way to stall your progress and burn yourself right out.
So I want you to ask yourself a quick question. Are you making dieting harder than it needs to be? Like, are you pulling your hair out over tiny little details while completely missing the bigger picture? Keep that thought in the back of your mind as we start dismantling some of the absolute biggest fitness myths out there.
All right, let's jump straight into Theme 1, Macro Misconceptions.
We're going to start by breaking down how we completely, and I mean completely, misunderstand the roles of carbs and proteins. What's really fascinating here is how Tristan's story challenges a massive trend in the fitness space. For years, he completely eliminated carbs. He literally started a ketogenic diet at 13 years old, stuck with it for 6 years, and then moved to a super strict carnivore diet for another 2. Sure, he got some benefits at first, more structure, fewer cravings, but looking back, he realized the main benefit was really just removing the foods that made him overeat or feel inflamed. Eventually, he learned a huge lesson. Carbs do not have to be the enemy. Carbs are fuel. When you use them at the right time and in the right amounts, they give you the raw energy you need to break through those physical plateaus you thought were impossible. They're a massive, game-changing tool in your toolbox.
And speaking of going to extremes, get this number, 400. That's how many grams of protein Tristan was eating every single day at one point. To put that in perspective, that is an insane amount of meat. As he jokes, the only person who actually gained anything from that was his plumber, who had to fix the toilet every weekend. We kind of have this mindset that if protein is good, more protein must be magical, right? It's satiating, it has a high thermic effect, sure, but 400 grams a day is just overkill. When you eat that much protein, you literally crowd out the dietary fats you absolutely need for healthy hormonal function and the carbs you need to actually fuel your performance in the gym. So instead of chasing these massive, absurd protein numbers, let's look at a much simpler benchmark, the 1 gram per pound rule. Once you're hitting roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight, you've pretty much cleared all your bases. You've given your body exactly what it needs to build and maintain muscle. Any extra calories beyond that point, they are way better utilized somewhere else. Specifically, as carbs for high-intensity training energy and fats to keep everything running smoothly under the hood.
And this brings us to the ultimate tug-of-war so many of us experience, the battle between two massive extremes. Over on the left, we've got Lean's Law. This is that absolute fear of gaining even an ounce of fat, the total obsession with staying perfectly shredded year-round. The problem here? If you're trying to grow, this fear totally prevents you from maximizing muscle growth. Building muscle is hard, and you have to build the clay before you can sculpt it. But then, actually, scratch that. Then we swing wildly over to the right, the complete overcorrection of eat big to get big. Tristan realized that after years of being super lean, he just started eating everything in sight. He ended up gaining 40 pounds in an off-season when he really only needed to gain about 25. Throwing endless amounts of food at your body only helps if it translates to better training. If the scale's rocketing up but your gym performance is exactly the same, you aren't building muscle, you're just gaining fat.
So what's the actual sweet spot? It's what we call an effective muscle-building surplus. We're talking about just a small caloric surplus, like 200 to 300 extra calories a day. In most cases, gaining just half a pound per week is exactly what you need. It gives you the precise amount of fuel to grow without packing on all this unnecessary body fat that you'll just have to painfully diet off later.
Moving right along to Theme 2, the illusion of control.
Just think about the tiny, meticulous details we obsess over on a daily basis. Perfect meal timing, hitting the exact single gram of your macros, panicking over a packet of artificial sweetener, trying to perfectly time your sodium intake before a workout. It is just an overwhelming amount of noise generated by diet culture. Now, it's not that these things don't matter at all, but they absolutely do not matter more than the foundation. We waste so much mental energy on this minutia when we really just need to focus on the big stuff, getting our calories in, hitting our protein, training hard, and recovering harder. Even meal frequency isn't magic. As long as you're getting roughly 4 evenly spread protein servings a day, the perfect schedule just doesn't exist. The best frequency is literally just the one you can repeat without it ruining your life.
Which leads us perfectly into the endless, exhausting debate of tracking your food raw versus tracking it cooked. When you're trying to be perfectly precise, you want those numbers to be flawless, right? Well, here is a massive reality check. Nutrition labels can easily be off by 20% in either direction anyway. Trying to find absolute mathematical perfection is a total fool's errand. So the debate over raw versus cooked, it's largely pointless. Raw works, cooked works. You just need to pick one ruler and measure consistently. Don't stress the minutia, just stop changing the ruler you're measuring with. That brings us to theme 3, the mindset shift.
So, we've talked about macros and tracking, but the psychological side of dieting is what actually unlocks long-term success. Let's walk through this timeline together. I call this the panic cycle, and I guarantee it's going to look familiar to a lot of you. Day 1, you have a slightly bad weigh-in, so boom, you panic. Day 2, you reactively slash your calories down. Day 3, because you slashed your calories, you have a terrible, weak, flat workout. Day 4, you feel flat and weak, so you emotionally react again and dump a bunch of carbs back in. This cycle is a massive trap. Your body simply does not adapt as fast as your emotions change. A single day tells you almost nothing. The fastest way to waste your time is to keep changing the plan before it even has time to work. You have to be patient enough to gather trend data and actually see what's happening.
So the crucial point here is this simple phrase, fuel the stimulus. We need a complete paradigm shift. We have to stop trying to earn our calories through exercise and stop treating our training sessions like they're just calorie-burning contests. The food you eat is there to fuel the stimulus of your workout. Approach every single meal with the goal of maximizing your performance, not just minimizing your fat gain. When you actually allow your food to fuel your training, that is when you start seeing real, undeniable physical growth. And all of this builds into something incredible, the sustainable cycle. For so long, we've thought dieting just means eating less and less and moving more and more, until you're just flat, tired, and basically surviving. But a way better long-term goal is building a body that can actually handle more food. Think about this progression. The more muscle you build, the more metabolically efficient your body becomes, meaning you get to eat more food. The more you can eat, the better you can train. The better you can train, the more muscle you build, and the whole cycle repeats. It's an amazing positive feedback loop that builds a powerful, resilient physique, rather than a fragile one.
All right, let's bring it all together for our conclusion. The diet is the tool. Let's wrap up everything we've learned from this 10-year journey. The overarching lesson here is simple. Stop chasing control and start chasing feedback. Tristan didn't waste 10 years because extreme diets don't fundamentally work. I mean, they do, in their own very specific ways. He wasted that time because he honestly believed that making a diet stricter and harder automatically guaranteed better results. But your diet is just a tool to improve your performance. That's it. It's not a shiny badge of honor to show off how much you can deprive yourself. Listen to your body's feedback, look at those long-term trends, and just adjust the tool accordingly.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If the diet isn't the trophy, what are you actually competing for? Are you fighting to see who can suffer the most, or are you striving to build a stronger, healthier, and way more capable version of yourself? Take a step back, look at your own journey, and don't be afraid to drop the extremes. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.